Hey everybody, welcome to the Max Show. That is Massive Abundance Exposed, where we are exposing all the badass secrets of entrepreneurs all over the world. Welcome, my name again is Chris Stafford, and I'm really excited to have a super cool, amazing real estate agent. I'm calling him the $1 Million Man, Mr. Philip Watson. This guy makes buttloads of cash in selling real estate in an area in the county Pennisula south of San Francisco. Great guy, super great ideas. He's always giving me great ideas, great motivation, so I can't wait to hear what he has to say. But before we jump into the interview, make sure you jump into massiveabundanceinc.com. Check out some free goodies when you sign up, and let's talk to Mr. Philip Watson. Hey, Mr. Phil Watson is in the house. How you doing, Phil?
I'm good, Chris. How you been?
Great, great. I'm so glad that you took the time, man, to join us today. We've got a lot of interested viewers that are going to want to know what makes Phil Watson tick.
Okay. When they find out, you'll let me know too, right?
That's right. That's right. Hey, before we get started, because I do want to ask you about your business. Again, as I mentioned, we got a lot of realtors watching the show. Thought I'd give us a little bit of your background and how you got in the real estate business.
Well, kind of ironically as a whim, I was still in school, in college, and I had a good friend of mine who had been a realtor for a short period of time. We were really young, and we decided it would be a great way to meet girls. So we got into real estate. Thought this would be kind of a fun career while we're going to school. And for me, it stuck. For him, unfortunately, it didn't, but for me, it did.
Wow. That's good. So you started right out of school?
Pretty much right out of school, yeah.
My God. Well, you know, I know you're probably only like 28 years old, but I see here in your bio it says you've been in the business 25 years or more. Is that right?
Yeah, in excess of 30 now.
Excellent, excellent. Now we're going to make sure that everybody has your information, your website, and all that good stuff in the show notes, so they'll be able to reach you. But I know, what I know about you, Phil, is that you are super successful. You have all kinds of really cool marketing techniques, which I want to get into. But give everybody an idea of how big is your team? You are with what company and what areas that you market, and then how much money are you bringing in on a gross commission basis?
Well, first, I'm with Coldwell Banker. I'm in the Burlingame area, which is about halfway in between San Francisco and San Jose for people who are not in our area. And we cover San Mateo County, parts of San Francisco, of course, and then also San Jose area to some degree, probably the more northern parts of the San Jose area or Santa Clara market. We have on our team now 9 members. We have myself, my business partner, Steven, and a couple of staff members, one of whom sells, who has a broker's license. And then we have a number of agents who work underneath us, in a sense, kind of working with our systems and our team.
That's great. And how many people are on your team?
9.
9
total.
people. Wow. So you are spending a lot of time managing people then too.
No, ironically not. It's funny because when my business partner and I first joined businesses, and Chris, because you've had a kind of a business partner for a while now too, it was initially for me anyway, it wasn't something where I'd done that before. I'd never merged a business or owned a business with anybody else. And my feeling is that I wanted to give it a try. So we created kind of a hybrid of a business arrangement. And it was initially under my name specifically. It was under the Philip Watson Group. And now it's, of course, the Watson Marshall Group. Which is his last name. And we, at one point, I looked at kind of my vision, which was to essentially build an office within an office, and without all of the management, without all of the work that kind of goes along with being a manager and owning your own company. And what we did essentially is we decided that after a year in the business together, what we do is we start hiring people or bringing people on. We had a very definite profile of what the agents were to look, what we wanted them to look like. We wanted them to be experienced. We didn't necessarily need people who were doing 40 or 50 transactions a year, but we wanted people who were active, who knew what they were doing. And therefore, it'd be more of a think tank or a brainstorm type thing rather than me managing people and telling them what they needed to do and how they needed to earn a living.
So they're pretty self-sufficient then is what you're saying.
They're self-sufficient agents, yeah. What they do walk into is they walk into our systems, they walk into our presentations, they walk into the strength of having a group of people who do a lot of transactions together and kind of a history of having done transactions. And so I think it benefits them. It certainly benefits them on listing appointments. And as most people today across the country know, we're in a situation where listings are sparse and everybody's trying to get them.
Right. But I have about 4 people on my team, and one of the things that I'm always really concerned about is managing them. And a lot of realtors are going to watch this and they're going to say, "I can't believe Phil has 9 people on his team and he's not spending any time managing." I mean, is there any time that you're spending like hours per week that you got to get everybody together and crack the whip?
That's a good point, and I guess it really comes down to maybe I never considered it managing because they are, again, pretty self-sufficient, and I think there's a style to managing. To me, managing is you have to make meetings, you have to do you have to do these activities, essentially you're constantly there to be on presentations and typical traditional management. It's definitely not that. Of course, we have a group meeting that we actually recommend people come to, but not everybody does every week. But it's more to exchange information. What listings do we have coming on the market? What can somebody sell immediately? What our sellers are saying on certain properties that we're representing? Things we found in the market, how we can essentially benefit and help one another. So I kind of feel like it's more, as I say, a think tank, and there's a mutuality to it, I think, and it's to some degree kind of a symbiotic relationship between our agents and us.
It's almost like you mentioned earlier, it's almost like an office within an office. So,
it is.
Yeah, I see. So, of course, the $1 million question that everybody hates answering is, how much money are you making a year?
Well, personally, I can speak for last year. Personally, last year, before we had our team, I grossed just about $750,000 last year.
Wow, that's amazing.
This year, we should easily eclipse that.
Wow, that is truly amazing. I can't believe that. That is killer. Great for you. And you're doing that by, you and I have talked off camera a little bit about some of the creative marketing stuff that you've done. And one of the things that I love doing is masterminding with you and hearing about some of the things that you do. Can you give us just a brief synopsis, if you will, of some different kinds of marketing you're doing, just briefly, that you think is a little bit out of the box?
Well, I don't know about how out of the box it is. I think that everything you do should have kind of a look, a branding to it. And so what we've done is we've branded ourselves. We do billboard advertising. We've wrapped a car, although it was done nicely, that we gave to one of our assistants to drive. So there's that. We actually have another billboard coming in 2 different parts of our county that we specialize in. Some of that is for name recognition, almost specific for name recognition for the group. We are target marketing. Both Stephen and I, my business partner Stephen and I, are marketing together to a specific group of homes where demographically we feel that they're the highest likelihood of maybe making a change. We contact our clients a little differently now. We're starting to contact them with events that we have. One thing we learned from a colleague of yours and mine, Chris, Maryland, was the shredding party. Where we have a shredding truck come once or twice a year and actually invite our clients to come down and get rid of all their old things that they need, their old tax returns and checkbooks and things like that they need to get rid of. We've done a couple of holiday parties where we had Santa Claus and the photos and events where it was Toys for Tots drive. We're trying to couple some of these things or many of these things with charities that would be worthy of having a cause. We're doing things with schools. We've purchased computers and things like that for schools, and then gotten onto their parent role and have marketed to parents, because in many cases those are really good sources of listings, people growing, families growing, and things like that, and getting kind of, again, to be synonymous with an area that you're working in. Of course, Homes and Land magazine, which I'd never done, was essentially institutional advertising, again for name recognition, that type of thing. So those types of things, I think, a lot of mailing to areas. I think what people are doing a lot less of is mailing these days. Right. And we started doing it, but we mail with a system. The system has a computer attachment to, or a website attachment to it, so that people can enter a PIN number, go into a website. They can essentially get kind of a Zillow-esque type of value for their home, be put in an auto update for what's happening in their marketplace, where we really don't have to do anything. It's automated. And when we find that people have logged into our systems, what we'll do is respond with a letter, typically an email follow-up, and then from there, traditionally, we'll, depending on how many times they come on, and how often they come on, we'll follow up with things like the copies of our visual tour or a market analysis or something like that.
That's really cool. I mean, these are great ideas, Phil. Do you hire out? Can you come into my business and consult with me?
Sure. Well, I think actually I can learn a thing or two from you, Chris. So maybe we can do that and brainstorm together.
I love it. That's great. Great ideas. Now, I'm sitting there listening to you, and I'm thinking, my God, these are such great ideas. But I'm thinking, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And my first thought that maybe a lot of other people might have too is, how much money are you spending? What's your sort of like budget on your advertising?
Well, I've always been told that your advertising budget should be anywhere from 7 to 10% of what your gross is. And I think one of the things that I was able to do with Coldwell Banker is I was fortunate enough, and I think they were kind enough to be able to actually allow me some type of marketing allowance. And so that helps pretty substantially with that. So we're able to put that back in.
Cool.
Also, both Stephen and I have worked out arrangements with a lender that we refer a lot of business to, where they actually have created kind of a co-marketing or co-branding. So we look for ways to kind of co-brand with other groups, Coldwell Banker certainly, but also other groups where we can actually get a little bit more mileage from some of the advertising we're doing. But I'd say this past year, between the two of us, we probably spent close to $100,000 in advertising dollars. But it was with two of us. So $50,000 each, maybe. And that doesn't probably include some of the advertising budget that were allocated from our other two methods that I mentioned.
But your point is that if you're making $1 million, then $100,000 between the two of you, I mean, that's right in there with your 7 to 10%.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like that's pretty much where you need to be. I think you need to reinvest in your business. I know a lot of people feel differently about that. A lot of people, it's about knocking doors and cold calling and so forth, and that's really not been my model. I mean, probably initially more so, but right now it's really not.
Right.
I think when you start to have a busy business, it's pretty difficult to be out there and continue to cold call like that. I'm sure, and I've run into that problem because sometimes even working through my database sometimes can be difficult.
Right. But you are doing your sphere of influence. Are you contacting them, mailing, emails?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They stay on our mailing list for sure, and we do email them, and also we call them too from time to time as well. I try and work through my database at least twice a year. Speak with everybody personally twice a year.
Cool. Well, one of the things I always have to ask, because all of us entrepreneurs, Phil, as you may very well know, is that we all have struggles, we all have challenges, and I think this is being able to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and this is what makes a true entrepreneur really successful. And so I love talking about maybe your biggest challenge, maybe your biggest failure, and how you overcame that. Anything come to mind? Well,
I think first, in a marketplace that's changing, and right now, obviously, this marketplace is in a really interesting place. If you're a listing agent, you're doing rather well today. If you're a buyer's agent, you are, in most cases, likely struggling.
Right.
We wrote 2 offers this past week, I did, and neither one of them were accepted. And in one case, they had 19 offers. In another case, they had 14 offers.
Got it.
San Francisco marketplace has been like that for a long time, I think. So obviously, still listings is, I think, the key to this industry, and controlling the marketplace is the key. So I think that's one aspect. I think we've converted ourselves probably more towards the listing end of the marketplace by the way we prospect. Naturally, we work with clients that are previous clients that are selling a home and then purchasing a home and referrals and so forth. But I do think that if you're going to have a tendency to lean a different direction and your business can be tilted 60 or even 70 or 65% listing end and the balance on the selling end, I think that's one good way to get into a marketplace or into a market where you're controlling the market rather than reacting on the market.
So what's been your particular challenge, though?
Well, I think, part of our challenge is to decide how we want to grow. I mean, as an example, I think we have grown a little faster than I expected us to. We've actually turned agents away that have come and talked with us that maybe we didn't feel was such a good fit. So I think growth is one part of it, and sometimes I think you reach a critical mass where you can start to get into a management issue. So I think that's a big part of our dilemma right now. We're reaching that. There's 2 of us, fortunately, and I have to admit my business partner is excellent. I think the other part is, for me personally, is probably the social marketing. That has been something which is certainly on my to-do list this year, is to really enhance that. Right. I'm not a big Facebook guy. Part of it's time, and part of it's just maybe for whatever reason it bores me. It's not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for a lot of people it really is. It's just not mine. And
Right.
and there's a big avenue of, I think, production and business that I'm missing because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So one of our on our to-dos is to hire somebody, a tech person
Mm-hmm.
or a social media person that would specialize, and put that person on our team full time. So we have them either as a contractor or as a full-time employee with us.
Right.
That really kind of works with that. Helps us to set up blogs, and so we can think about what we have to do and nag us to do it.
Right, exactly. When you find that person, when you find that person, let me know, because I've got the same issue.
Well, I think you do a better job of it, clearly, but you never know how it affects your business
Mm-hmm.
until you start doing something, and then you find that you have more business because you weren't doing it. And then you realize, wow, it's like an epiphany.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, you've got so much more business, and you don't know how it happened, but it came from as a result of something else you're doing.
Right.
It's new.
Well, I think that, you've always impressed me, Phil, because so many real estate agents sort of have that shiny object syndrome, and they're always reaching for whatever the next big thing is, whether it's Facebook or doing social media, which can be really productive, or should I make my property statement? This is a great question. Should I make my property statements bigger or smaller? Is that going to have an effect? It's like, what does that have to do with it? And you've always maintained a real strong focus on your core marketing principles and your core business, and I really appreciate that. That's very cool. But let me ask you this. What is your next big vision for your business? What's your next big thing that you want to do with your business?
Well, I think that my business partner and I have sat down when we first merged our businesses and looked at what we wanted as a 5-year and a 10-year plan. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we're doing is anything that we're taking as profit on our current business mm-hmm. together, our business we do together, we invest mutually. So part of it is having a certain dollar amount that we create, and one of our goals is to actually buy more property. We both own property, but to buy more. Because I kind of firmly believe that you make more money by owning the product than you do even selling it, yep. because it's in a sense, kind of kept. It's kept money. You're not just earning a living, continually repeating it. Mm-hmm. I think that he and I, we have some decisions to make, because it's clear that we can grow our team and grow our business quickly. Mm-hmm. And we can grow it large. Mm-hmm. And so we've contemplated doing our own business at some point. I think he's a little younger than I am. I think he's a little bit more eager in that respect. Mm-hmm. But he also comes from a family-owned business. It was a real estate business, and he merged with us. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's one of our real serious thoughts, that we're thinking about maybe doing our own business.
So just break out with your own company.
Yeah, and I think if we were to do that, neither one of us want to do a smallish company. I think we'd want to do something large with multiple offices, and in this area here. And so I think that, again, it's something that we're starting to put some energy into. But, I'm a big one for not putting the cart in front of the horse. What I wanted to do was have a team, see how that felt, have us work together for at least 2 years before we really seriously consider doing anything else. Mm-hmm. And at that point, then we can start considering where we want to go next. It may well be, and I have to admit, Coldwell Banker has been a really wonderful forum for us. We've mm-hmm. been extremely happy. Coldwell Banker's treated us very, very well, and they've allocated and allowed us to be in a really good position. So I don't want to sound ungrateful, because I'm not. I'm very, very mm-hmm. grateful for the way Coldwell Banker's treated us. Right,
and that sounds like it might be just a logical progression for you, just because I know that if you did that, Phil, I know you and your partner would be a huge success. So.
Well, Chris, I think one of the things that I find is that, and you probably have run into this as well, because you continue to kind of reinvent yourself as well. Mm-hmm. I think that part of it is having interest in what you're doing, and also part of it, I think, is being energized and feeling motivated, and also feeling excited.
Yep,
and,
absolutely.
You sell real estate every year, and if you're doing 20 million or 40 million or 50 million, you seem to kind of level off in mm-hmm. some place or more. And so it's always more. But I think part of it is doing things that are different, maybe for the same or better results, but that are different. Mm-hmm. Just changing, I think, sometimes is really important. And Absolutely. Unfortunately, I think that we don't change enough. And I don't mean change your core business principles or practices, mm-hmm. but I do mean making some change so that you feel motivated and excited about your business every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Partnerships helped me a great deal in that respect, because what it did is it created some excitement. We're doing different things. Yeah. And that to me was fun.
You're speaking to me, man, because I love saying this. My mother tells me I have the attention span slightly greater than a gnat. So
yeah, I can understand. And
I love the change. Yeah.
Well, I think change is good. I think it's healthy, and I think that most of us get kind of pigeonholed and we get kind of bottled up,
Right.
and then we create our own glass ceilings in many respects. And I think there's a whole psychology, I think, behind starting to work on, breaking that.
Yeah.
Part of your book as an example, Massive Abundance, I think is a real perfect example of that. It's breaking those barriers and breaking those boundaries and those glass ceilings.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much. Listen, love asking this question in terms of like sort of wrapping up here. You've got a brand new real estate agent right in front of you. Especially they want to be a listing agent. They want all these listing agents. So they're sitting there in front of your desk and they're saying, Philip Watson, I need to know, what is it? What's the one or two things that I need to be super successful in selling real estate? Go for it.
So first and foremost, were I to do this all over again, I think you know where I grew up. I grew up in the north part of the peninsula. And if you look at property values up and down the peninsula, kind of like in San Francisco, every neighborhood has its own property values. Were I to start all over again, I would start off in a very high-end marketplace. If you're going to become good at something, you might as well become good at something where the average sales price is $2 million versus $300,000.
Yep.
And in the peninsula, we're blessed, San Francisco Peninsula, we're blessed with a lot of those kind of micro markets.
Right.
So I think if I were going to work, I would mentor under somebody extremely good who worked in a marketplace like that, somebody who I felt had very high ethics. I would go to work, I'd interview with them and tell them what I could bring to the table, which would be enthusiasm, energy, and I'd be willing to be a bit of a gopher for them, run around a little bit and do what they need to do. I think that'd be one. The second thing would be is I'd start working building my database in my sphere. And databases are interesting because many people never have them. Right. They work with the pieces of paper that they've gotten from an open house or whatever, and they don't keep a database, and certainly not a long-term database. I would probably coach them to start looking at leads that are 1, 2, 3, and sometimes even 4 years out leads, and each year start to kind of rotate them as the year progresses and build those rapports and those relationships. And the larger and greater you can build that database, in my opinion anyway, whether it's from open house, whether it's from floor times, whether it's from your sphere or meeting people in other venues or aspects, I would think that that'd be a good thing for people to start doing. I think they also need to look at this business as a long-term business. They're not likely to have tremendous success in their first year or maybe even 2 years because they don't have a following or a database. I think that one of the main things that people get is they get discouraged as well.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big part of, at least in my mind anyway, our industry is that you have to learn not to be discouraged and not take things personally. It took me a long time not to take not getting a listing personally.
Yeah.
The rejection of it was just horrible, horrifying to me.
Exactly.
So I think those are some of the elements I think I'd probably be telling somebody who's brand new in the business.
That is
or
great.
Coaching them.
That is great. Phil, thank you so much for your time, man. That is exceptional advice. I'm sure everyone's going to really take that to heart. And we are certainly going to follow you with any new endeavors that you have. Definitely keep us in the loop. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure, Chris. It's good to see you.
All right, Phil. You take care. We'll talk to you real soon.
Okay, take care.
All right. Hey, was that a cool interview? Man, I love talking to Phil. Every time I talk to Phil, even in this interview, we talk a lot off camera as well, too. He always motivates me, always gives me great ideas. He is just so focused on his core business and has such great ideas doing it. And I loved his comment about how to always shake it up, too, and keep yourself excited about it. Keep on top of that sphere of influence. You love it. I love it, love it, love it. So definitely check out Phil. Make sure you hit him up. Give me some love down below. I would love to hear from you. Want to hear what you think about Mr. Philip Watson and what you think about the Max Show and myself. So let me know. Make it happen down there, people. And get yourself to MassiveAbundanceInc.com. Sign in for some free goodies. Again, thanks for joining us today. My name is Chris Stafford, and may massive abundance be yours.